Welcome to the Strong Enough Podcast, your relationship wellness podcast. I'm your host, Claudia. Today we have a special treat for you in the form of a guest host who has collected all of your questions and is going to put me on the hot seat. Please help me in welcoming Christina Milliken. Christina, it is so great to have you here today. And this is so many firsts that we're doing here today. Our first is that we're in person. We have an in-person guest.
Oh, yeah.
Sitting on the same couch together. So that's the first. The next first is that you're actually going to guest host this episode.
I hope you all are ready for this.
I hope I'm ready for this because the reason that Christina is here to guest host this episode is because you guys have been asking questions. Mm-hmm. And once I was getting some of those questions in private messages, we thought, well, let's open it up and ask for more questions. And so you guys have sent in questions for me. So where I'm used to putting people in the hot seat, today, I'm getting put in the hot seat, and I'm not really sure how I'm feeling about that. So I'm a little nervous. I have to tell you, I'm usually not, but you guys threw some curveballs out there, I feel like.
We were trying to make this a very lighthearted, fun episode, but you all asked some really tough questions. So we'll keep it going in terms of laughs and fun, but yeah, I can't wait to ask all of the questions that you all submitted.
Well, I think we should start. I can't give up the host role quite yet, if that's okay, because I think people need to know a little bit about you.
Okay.
So just knock it out. Tell everybody what you want them to know about Christina.
Sure. Thanks for having me, first of all.
Absolutely.
It really is an honor to be back in Breckenridge, Colorado with you. We had a little bit of an interesting travel experience the last few days getting here. I used to live here in Summit County, Colorado. I just moved about 8 months ago to Iowa. I know you're probably asking why Iowa. Actually, trust me, everyone, Eastern Iowa is where it's at. So contact me if you're interested in coming to the Cedar Rapids area, and we'll chat. Anyway, I had a flight delay, got in at 3 a.m. on, you'd consider that Saturday morning.
Technically, yes.
Then I have severe mold allergy, and Claudia here has a severe dust allergy. We walked into a really disgusting Airbnb near Colorado Springs.
So bad.
We were going to have a really fun girls' weekend, podcast interviewing, hiking, eating. So then we had to adapt. I say that adaptability is one of my core character strengths. I find that I can adapt pretty quickly, but just all the travel plans have not quite panned out.
It's been a weekend, but the end result is we are still together.
Yep.
We have still done the wood walking, hiking as most people call it. You didn't know this? So it's wood walking, you guys, because you're just out walking around in the woods.
I know, but wood means you're walking on wood. Wood walking.
No.
Woods walking means you're walking in a forest.
Okay. So woods walking, we did it. Either way, hiking, wood walking, woods walking. We did that.
We did. And so now we're taking a little break from the beautiful Summit County. I'm here for another 16 hours or so, and then I'm driving home the 12 hours back to Iowa. So
she doesn't want to get back on a plane is why.
Yeah, I really don't. So anyway, I'm Christina Milliken. I don't think I ever introduced myself.
I don't think so.
And I used to work with Claudia at the advocacy organization here in Colorado. And that's where we met and became friends. I was first a volunteer before I started working there, and Claudia hired me. So I owe it all to Claudia. I still work in nonprofit work, in fundraising, business development for a little bit of a different nonprofit, and one that supports entrepreneurship and development of kids.
Amazing.
And business, teaching kids about business and entrepreneurship and work readiness and financial literacy. So we're working on bolstering the community in a different way than you are in your advocacy work.
Absolutely.
And what else? I'm a functional medicine certified health coach.
Yes.
and a board certified health coach. And I have a huge passion for health and wellness. And I think that's a big reason why we were brought together. And I think also because we just laugh and have a great time together, right?
We do. We can kind of find anything to laugh about, and we can turn any situation into a pretty good situation.
I have one thing that I need to add. If you all think Claudia should get a fanny pack, comment now. I'm trying to encourage her to wear a fanny pack.
Here's the thing. I'm not I am entirely opposed to the fanny pack. However, when Christina wears her fanny pack, I make her like reverse twerk. Is that what it would be? Because you got to like bump in with the pack.
Most people call it hip thrusting, but I know we're a little bit more PG, would you say?
Well, we have our moments, so it's fine. Yeah, we do have an explicit rating. She almost decided to cut off our friendship due to me walking into work one day with a fanny pack last year. It was a struggle.
Yeah. I wore it on top of my big fluffy jacket.
You did.
Yeah.
She was very proud of the fanny pack. And I had to think long and hard and have a deep conversation with myself in that moment. But I kept her around, and I think she's pretty worth it.
Thank you.
She still wears the fanny pack, though.
I do.
She does.
I have a more fashionable one now.
If that's a thing. Okay.
Moving on.
All right. Well, maybe I've stalled enough. I don't know. Should we jump in and...
Yes. Let's put Claudia in the hot seat.
Thanks a lot, you guys, for this. Because nobody could just ask a simple question like, what's your favorite food? Or what color do you like the best?
Well, that's boring.
I mean, not for me. It would have been fun for me, but we'll dive in.
What is your favorite food?
Okay, so it is a hard question because I love food so much.
Me too.
I love Italian food. I would say would be my genre, my style of food.
I think you're lying to us right now.
Do you really?
Yeah, I do, because you told me that you want to start a bakery.
Yes.
So can you tell us a little bit more about that? We're jumping right in.
We are. Apparently, she's the host now. We have switched roles. So yes, I have wanted to open a coffee shop / bakery. I would name it Java the Cup. Java the Cup.
Original. I like it.
And serve lots of delicious baked goods because I love to bake.
Aww.
So I enjoy cooking, but I love baking, and I'm actually a decent baker. So if you need a cheesecake, a key lime pie,
I love key lime's my favorite. Did you know that?
I can do all that.
You can. That's impressive.
Yeah. I did not know key lime was your favorite, though.
Is.
Well, I can jam out a pretty fantastic from scratch key lime pie with homemade whipped cream in the flavor of your choice.
Extra tart is what I like best when it comes to key lime pie. And you got to use actual key limes and limes. Okay, Claudia? You got
that? Speaking to the choir, I know. So that's why I've always wanted to open a bakery / coffee shop, because who doesn't love coffee?
Where is this bakery going to be?
I mean, it's going to have to be in Summit County.
Okay.
Because I love it here, as most of you know, as you also know. So I would say, I could go with a little downtown Breck.
Okay.
Coffee shop / bakery. Come in for the pie. Java the Cup. It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
I do love the name. I know that I gave you a stone cold face, but
you did.
I like it.
Thank you.
Okay. So what actually made you start this podcast?
That's a great question. So I was actually on a podcast nearly a year ago, and it was the Spear Talk podcast. And it was for...
We're holding up our mugs for those just listening.
Yep, we're holding up our mugs.
Shout
we're
out to
take
Spear
a
Talk.
quick sip. I was on there with John, the host, and we were talking about Domestic Violence Awareness Month because it was in October, which is, in fact, Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So that was actually the first time that I had ever shared a part of my own story when it came to being a survivor of domestic abuse. And it was a great experience. You know, it was it just kind of happened on a whim that I even talked about my story. But John and I stayed in contact, and several months later, he reached out to me and asked me what my perfect podcast would be. And that really got me to thinking about what it would be. And I didn't want to focus on just domestic abuse survivors. I really wanted to focus on relationship wellness as a whole and letting people know that they're strong enough to do whatever it is they need to do in that moment. So that's how I have molded this podcast. So it's really, it's about empowering the guest. It's about empowering me as the host. I learn something new on every episode. You as the host have already learned that I love to woods walk. So
You did call it wood walking.
well, I'm still going to call it wood walking even after this.
Okay.
But that's what drew me to do this. And I have to say it's one of the best decisions that I have made because I love having the platform to be able to empower other people and show the listeners and the viewers that there are others like them that are either in the same spot they're in or have been in the same spot and what they've done to overcome that.
I love that, Claudia, and I love that you're highlighting the stories of survivors, but a lot of really just incredible women and men that we have. And I like that it's not just women too, because this can affect any person as well. So I love that.
Thank you. I have really enjoyed it, and it's been really fun to have such a variety of guests as well. So yeah, it's been great for me. It's been more therapeutic for me probably than anybody else, but I'll take it.
Well, and your guests, some know you personally, but for your viewers, not everyone knows you personally. So I think it's really great that we have this opportunity today to ask the questions that all of your listeners and viewers are wondering. So let's continue onward.
I guess so. So far, so good. So let's roll on.
So when did you realize that you were worth it and strong enough as well?
I know who asked that question, and thanks a lot, Mom. There's some days that it's still a struggle. I'll be honest. I want everybody to know that even when you're in a good place, there are still days that are a struggle. But I would say when I was in the relationship that I was in that was not healthy at all, it did take a lot of time for me to realize it. And it was not a quick process for me. And I actually had to go to a therapist, basically to have an outsider give me the affirmation that I was doing the right thing by leaving. But I would say in that process is when I realized I was strong enough to move forward. And I've had several occasions since then, several challenges that have occurred in my life that have showed me that I have the strength to move through that situation. So I would say it's a recurring opportunity that I have to realize that I am strong enough and that I am worth it, because there are challenges that hit me just like everybody else. And it's another opportunity for me to say, yes, I am worth it. I can do this. I can continue to persevere.
So what advice would you give your viewers who are struggling to see their value and their worth?
It's hard. And I want people to understand that you can't just say that to yourself and make it happen. But I would say the advice I would give is to find some type of support system. We all need a support system. We can't do it alone. I know you and I have talked about that in several different contexts, but I think it's important to understand whether it's another human being, whether it's a greater power, that we have to reach out for support and know that it's there. And we also have to recognize that we're never going to be perfect. We're never going to have that perfect life. But we just have to keep putting one foot in front of the other. We just have to keep trying and knowing that we can wake up the next morning and keep going.
So talk to us about what you believe in terms of a higher purpose, and then talk to us about your family now and your support system in terms of a higher purpose and, your spiritual beliefs and your family?
So my spiritual beliefs are actually very interesting. I think that's why you're going there, because you're intrigued by it.
I am.
So I actually grew up Catholic, and I went through a divorce when I was in my early 20s. And I realized that, the Catholic Church doesn't support that. And I felt as though that meant they didn't want me anymore. I wasn't good enough in the church's eyes anymore. And it was much later. It was actually when I moved out to Colorado. So about 6 years ago, I really did a deep dive into religion, and I researched and studied every religion that exists that I could find. I mean, everything, anything I could find on the internet and books on, I researched. And I landed on Quaker. And the reason I landed on Quaker is because I felt like they were genuinely loving people that didn't ask for very much. As a whole, it didn't seem like a hypocritical group. They based their values on simplicity, peace, equality, integrity, and community. So that's kind of their core beliefs. The funny thing is, I actually went to a Quaker college before that, which you're familiar with. So maybe it was meant to be that I was Quaker, but it gave me the opportunity to really look deeper inside myself and decide what I wanted. I do believe in a higher power. I do believe in God. God gives me a lot of comfort and strength, and having that connection to a religion. And I'm not saying that's necessary, but for me, it just made me feel at home. And even though I don't go to friends meetings very often, that's Quaker Church. For those of you that don't know, it's actually, we're friends. Quakers are friends, and you do a meeting. So it's called a friends meeting. And the traditional meeting is you go and sit in silence for about an hour, and you just kind of think about whatever you want to think about. It's almost like a meditation process. And at the end of the hour, and my one question is still, who's keeping time? It just magically seems like one of the elders stands up and it's been an hour. So I don't know if they're actually looking at their watch,
or if they have an internal clock.
If it just happens that way, that's the next thing I want to know. But then you kind of chit chat with everybody. There is the opportunity, if you feel moved to speak during that silent time, you can, but it's really just a time to reflect. And I think that really spoke to me in the religion as well, that it is very much about you and just being comfortable and sitting with yourself.
And God.
And God, yes.
So what would you say to someone, maybe they do or maybe they do not believe in God? How did you lean on God and your faith to get through some of the most difficult times in your life? Or did you?
Do you remember when you said we were going to keep this lighthearted? And now she's turning it. I see.
I can turn it back anytime.
No, it's totally fine. For me, I do believe in God, and I have always felt, I won't say always, I have generally felt that support there from God. And obviously we can't see God, but I just know some of the situations I've been through, there's no way I got through it alone. There were nights when I would lay in bed and maybe just the right song would come on, or just the right person would call or text or be there. And I don't think those things are coincidental or accidental. So I just know that God is there to protect me, and I can't know everything. I don't know what's going to happen next, but I know it's going to happen for a reason. And I take comfort in that.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So tell us about, so you have a relationship with God in the framework of potentially a Quaker religion. Tell us about your immediate family and your support system. Tell us about your quote unquote boys.
My boys. Aw. So yes, my boys, my husband Lee is amazing.
He is amazing.
She loves him to death in a healthy friend way.
I have a husband named Lee. Claudia has a husband named Lee. We love our Lees.
A lot of Lees going on. Yeah, he has been wonderful. You know, he's the kind of person that supports me no matter what I do. And he's always there. He's the rock of the family. You know, we were talking yesterday about how people in a familial situation generally take on certain roles, just based on your personality and your likes, dislikes, motivations. He is the caretaker for sure. And I've needed a lot of caretaking, you know, over time due to health challenges and some other issues that have occurred. And that's definitely his strong suit. He also apparently has the immune system of, I don't even know what, because he's literally been sick twice in the entire time I have known him.
And you've been married for 15 years, right?
Yes, it'll be 16 this year.
That's a big accomplishment.
Yes. Well, the not sick or the 16 years or both?
Both. So what's your biggest marriage advice to people? And that could be relationship advice too, but maybe in more of an intimate relationship.
I would say be friends first. You know, everybody has challenging times in their relationships, whether it's a friend relationship or a romantic relationship. And I think if you are friends first, that can help you carry the heavy times. Because even when he and I have had heavy times, I like being around him. He's fun to be around. He makes me laugh. We enjoy the same things. We have a great time together. And so that it is what carries it through, I think, for me. And then we have 2 fur boys. I didn't want to forget about them.
I wasn't going to forget about them.
I know.
They're making noises right now.
They are. But Rocky and Chance, Rocky's 16. Chance is almost 7. They are our little Pekingese fur kids.
That's a dog name, by the way, for those who don't know.
It is. Pekingese, I think is how you're actually supposed to say it. But they are originally Chinese dogs that were for protection. And so that's why the Chinese emperors and whatnot would wear those big robes with the big sleeves. They would stuff mini Pekingese dogs in those sleeves, and they would have hundreds of them running around the castle.
I don't see them being very protective.
I mean, but think if there's like 100 of them.
That's kind of scary.
One bite, not that big of a deal. They're little floof balls. 100.
That's kind of intense.
I think so.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm going back to your questions, you as in the listeners. What is your favorite thing about yourself?
Well, I'm going to give 2. I'm going to go physical and not physical.
Okay.
My nose is my favorite physical characteristic.
She's got a nice nose.
Thank you. In high school, my friend Amy wrote a paper about my nose.
Interesting.
Yes, and it ended with, "Do not chop it off." That was the last sentence of the paper. True story. My favorite attribute about myself, though, is my determination. I have been blessed to have that confidence in myself. And when I set my mind to do something, I do it. And I remember being 14 years old and saying, next year, I'm going to win the state championship in track. And I did. And I'm not saying it was just because I said I was going to, but I just, when I decide to do something, I'm going to do it. And I love that about myself.
Working with you on a professional level, I can attest to that
Thank you
put your mind to something and you have laser focus.
Or focused. I have been laser focused. Thank you for saying that. I do feel that. And I think it's something a lot of people don't have. I don't know where, well, I know where it came from and that question's probably coming. So I'm just going to stop talking right now.
That's great. That's great. First of all, what was your event in track that you won state in?
Well, thank you for asking. It was the 800 meters.
That's a hard event.
You know, I don't want to toot my own horn, but beep, beep, it is because it's a really long sprint. I would say the 400 might be a little more difficult because that's just all out. But yeah, the 800 is rough for sure.
My mom was a 400-meter gal.
Stop.
And my grandfather won the 400-meter state in Illinois back in the day.
I did not. See, once again, I have learned something new on this episode.
But you know that I despise running.
She does. She likes woods walking. She does not like running.
Okay, speaking of working out, we had a question about why do you work out? Where does your motivation come from? And what are your favorite workouts?
Well, people that know me now, I love to run, which I know is weird. I'm not nearly the runner that I used to be, so now I run very slowly. But I really love boxing and kickboxing now. I have learned that for me, physical wellness really helps my mental well-being. And when I am in a situation, whether it's because I've had a surgery or because I'm not feeling well, if I can't work out, it definitely affects my mental wellness as well. But I love to box and kickbox. And I actually started kickboxing because, as many people know, I had wrist surgery a few months ago and I can't punch. And so I'm not punching right now. I promise, for those of you that message me about that, I'm still not punching yet, but the kicking is just an added layer. It was another something I could learn and try to master, but it also helps break that sweat and get the aggression out, which is very important to me.
Would you call yourself an aggressive person?
I can be an aggressive person. I'm going to be honest here. I think, in a situation where I feel like somebody needs to be protected, I can take that role and be the protector. So I'm going to call it protector instead of aggressive.
Okay.
I will not start anything, but I will protect myself and I will protect other people.
So you touched on your physical health in terms of working out being really important for your mental health. Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. My mental wellness has often been a challenge for me, to be honest with you. I do struggle with anxiety pretty significantly. I have had bouts of depression as well. And I understand that sometimes we do need outside assistance to make ourselves better. And whether that's a coach, a therapist, medication. I know some people don't believe in medication, and I used to be one of those people. And I thought, it's me, it's my insides. Why can't I fix them? And medication is just weakness. And I have changed that mindset because I understand it has to do with chemicals and hormones and imbalances, and we can't always control those things. But for me, I have learned that physical wellness also equates to mental wellness in my life. It's not the same for everybody, but I think what's important to know is figuring out what does help you and what helps your mental wellness. It might be woods walking, baking, journaling. It can be all those things. Listening to music. I know music is hugely important in my life, and it's really important in other people's lives. So for me, my mental wellness, I have learned, does have to be managed. It's just not going to be great. It's like a relationship. You can't expect a relationship with another person to just be good and you don't put in any effort. Right. Mental wellness for all of us is the same, that we have to put in the effort to be well.
Absolutely. And I think that in terms of mental wellness, I think that it's important to have something that you're passionate about, whether that be a certain hobby that gets you in a meditative zone in a way. Yes. And for me, that is working out that gets me to that too. I know for my husband, that's cooking. And for other people, that could just be walking, or that is a silent meditation of what works for you. And I think meditation can come in a lot of different forms as well. I
agree. And I know, I've had some guests that talked about meditation and have had some differing opinions. I think it's what you need it to be, to be honest. And when I kickbox or box, it kind of is a meditative state because there's so much going through your head they give you these ridiculously long combinations sometimes. So you're using your mind to say, okay, what is this whole ridiculous combination I have to do? And then doing it and remembering what punch is what kick is what, and getting through that. So for me, it keeps my mind active as well, which I really like.
Mm-hmm. That's great. So next question from one of your listeners is, who has inspired you, and how has their inspiration pushed you forward?
Love it. I can't remember who asked that. My mom has been a tremendously huge inspiration for me throughout my life. And even still, she decided, early on, she wanted to be in the medical field, and life just didn't happen that way for her. She got married to my dad. They were married after 3 months of knowing each other. My brother did not come along for some time later. So they wanted to get married. It wasn't that they felt like they had to, but life just went a different path for her. And then later in life, when I was young, she decided that she wanted to be a nurse. That passion to help people and enter the medical field had never left her. And even with kids and a husband, she decided to do it. And she worked her ass off and made it happen and became an amazing nurse and had a fantastic career. So I've always learned from her the value of being independent and the value of not letting go of your dreams and doing what you want to do.
Go, Mom, go.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, she's amazing.
Oh, I love that. Claudia, you're getting a little teary-eyed right now.
I know. I mean, she knows, but my mom is everything to me. And she's just really taught me what it takes to be a strong, independent woman, an intelligent woman, and not back down from that. There's a lot of times when we as women are supposed to be seen and not heard, or, we're supposed to do certain things or take certain career paths. And she always taught me that was bullshit, and we could do whatever we wanted.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Again, go, Mom, go.
Mm-hmm.
So you've done a few different careers, and I love that about you, that you have jumped around a little bit, from being in marketing to being a police officer to being in advocacy and fundraising.
Yes.
So talk to us about, we had a viewer ask, what made you become a police officer? And then what ultimately inspired you to switch careers?
So interestingly, being a police officer was not my intention originally. When I was little, I wanted to be a detective. I have always loved true crime.
But Claudia, don't you have to be a police officer to be a detective?
Well, Christina, I did not realize that when I was 5. So yes, that was the sticking point for me. I always wanted to be a detective. And as I grew up, I learned, because my uncle was a police officer in DC and a state trooper in Virginia. So I learned that, sadly, police officers and detectives it's the same path. You start in the same place. And it was shortly after 9/11 that I was sitting in my office, and I said, what am I waiting for? Why do I continue to wait to go down this path? And I said, you know what, I'm going to do it. And I applied to one department, and it was a very lengthy, stressful process, but one of the best decisions that I ever made, and one of the best things for me in growing as a leader. For sure.
That's good. That's good stuff. So then what caused you to switch careers?
Well, I was injured at the police department and decided to leave. And that's when I went into marketing, which was very interesting. One thing that I have always found the same about these paths is I equate virtually everything with sales.
That's
so
good.
To me, Being a police officer was a salesman because I had to sell you on the outcome that I needed you to take. Now, that outcome might have been having you leave for the night so that there wasn't further disruption in the home, or it might be having to arrest you. But I always looked at it as a sales job that I had to sell solutions. So going into marketing really was the same thing. I have always kind of looked at jobs that way, that you're selling different things. So while it was entirely different career, to me, the mindset was very, very similar.
Interesting. I would never think of being a police officer as a sales job.
That, you know what? And I think it served me well to look at it that way, because when you sell something, you have to look at the other person's motivation, their situation, and what's in it for them. Mm-hmm. So you got to make it somehow worth their while. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not saying you can ever make going to jail sound like a great opportunity for somebody and sell them on it, but you can still look at it from a perspective of selling your solution mm-hmm. and getting them to buy into that solution. And that's how I did it.
Interesting. I like it. That probably has an interesting boundary to it. So it's not so traumatic for you as well.
Right. And I felt like I got into way less altercations than a lot of other females did, because sometimes, especially men would want to challenge a female officer. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of female officers who kind of go in with a chip on their mm-hmm. shoulder, and they feel like they have to prove themselves. I have to show you how tough I am. I never went into it that way. If I had to flirt with somebody to get them to do what I needed them to do, well, then that's way smarter than having to get into a ground fight just because I have a chip on my shoulder. It just didn't seem worth it to me. This seemed like an easier path for everybody involved.
Cool, Claudia.
Thanks.
I like it.
Thanks.
I like it. Okay. You just mentioned motivation. So what motivates you most in your life?
Wow. That's a tough one. I really think, I want to say helping other people, and, that's kind of mm-hmm. a pageanty answer, but I think it is inspiring people to be the best that they can and knowing that they can get through a situation. So I would say that's what motivates me, is being able to let other people know that they can get through it. So if I can do that through my own actions, through my own story, or by facilitating conversations with mm-hmm. others, just having the opportunity to show somebody else in a place that maybe they don't want to be, that they are worth it and they can get past that place, mm-hmm. that's motivation for me.
To empower others.
Absolutely.
Amazing. You are doing that work, my friend.
Thank
you really
you.
are. Okay, I have the last question. Mm-hmm. What piece of advice would you give your 16-year-old self?
Wow. And I always ask this of other people or something similar, and now I see why it's a tough question. I would say to put yourself first, not in a selfish way, but in a self-care way. I really spent my teen and early 20 years always wanting to make other people happy, mm-hmm. always. And I would sacrifice my own needs mm-hmm. to make that happen. Mm-hmm. And I think there has to be a balance. Mm-hmm. So my advice would be to think about yourself. It's not selfish, and to make sure that you're thinking about you and what you need as you move through different relationships.
Absolutely. I love that piece of advice. And one thing I just want to clarify, because I know this is not your intention, is that Claudia's not saying to go be a narcissist.
Correct.
She's still saying to go love and serve others while also caring for your own needs first.
Exactly. Don't put your needs
last.
Or at all, mm-hmm. I think you're exactly right, is make sure to think about what you need as you move about loving others and empowering others. But don't just say, whatever I want doesn't matter, I'm going to be miserable. Mm-hmm. Think about what you need as you move through those relationships and dealing with other people.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Claudia.
Absolutely.
That wraps up our Q&A portion of this interview. Thank you, everyone, for submitting your questions.
I still like most of you. It's okay.
She may not like me after this.
I still love her. It's fine.
So I was prompted. So I don't, for all of those who have tattoos, I don't have any tattoos. I don't understand why people with tattoos always have to ask everyone about their tattoos. I'm just going to be frank with you here. But I heard I was supposed to ask you about your tattoos. So Claudia, tattoo. What is a tattoo? Where is tattoo? What is tattoo? How is tattoo?
Who is Tattoo? Maybe we should watch an old episode of Fantasy Island.
I don't know what that is.
I'm not surprised. So let's just move on. Tattoos. Despite the fact that you don't tattoo or understand tattoo, or
I respect tattoo.
She respect tattoo. and I still love you for that.
Thank
I
you.
respect your wish to not tattoo.
We did go by a tattoo parlor place yesterday in Colorado Springs.
We did.
And I said, Claudia, there's a tattoo place parlor. Should we want to go inside? I know you love tattoos. Should we go inside? Do you like to look at the artwork, like watch them do it? I was really genuinely trying to be there for you.
She was. So I explained to Christina that that's not really how this works. It's not your traditional shopping experience where you go in and browse. Mm-hmm. You can. There are some places that's okay. But what I did love is the other place you saw as you were walking by and you were like, ooh, it's a social club and a parlor. Oh, it's a tattoo place.
It looked really cool inside. I thought maybe it was a cool bar with like a ice cream parlor type deal. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't.
It was not. So we didn't go in. We did not.
Someone was like laying on their stomach. It looked like they were getting their butt cheek tattooed. I didn't want to see that.
Nobody wants to see that.
I don't. And I don't understand. Tattoo artists have to basically put a tattoo wherever you want it. Like what weird places people probably put tattoos that I don't know about because we wear clothes in society.
I concur. I would like to point out I do not have any weird place tattoos.
You don't? What's the weirdest place tattoo that you have?
I mean, my foot.
What's the weirdest? Where is the weirdest place you got a tattoo?
Oh, that is a good story. I got my first tattoo when I was 17, which is against the law. Here's how big of a nerd I was. Have I ever told you this story?
Well, I know that Claudia is a nerd, but not in that way because she did go to a math and science boarding school in high school. But so I'm surprised that you got a tattoo at 17. So tell us this story.
Okay, so you're going to love this. So getting a tattoo at the age of 17, I decided what I wanted. I was ready to go. But I was 17 and you have to be 18 to get a tattoo. So my nerdy self that morning called the tattoo shop and said, do you check IDs? And of course they said, yes. So I took my fake ID and they never looked at it. They never asked, nothing. They never looked at my ID, nothing.
So what was that tattoo?
That tattoo is
that you couldn't wait one more year to get.
It's stupid. That tattoo is Hobbs the Tiger from Calvin and Hobbes.
Don't cartoon. Know what that is.
Right. She's younger. So that is a cartoon. For those of you who don't know, Calvin is a mischievous little boy and he has a stuffed tiger that is his best friend, but the tiger talks and walks and, in his mind. So it's really a stuffed tiger when anybody else sees him. Mm-hmm. But for him, it's his best friend, Hobbs the tiger. I don't know. I can't now explain why I did it. What motivated me to say, this is what I want on my body for the rest of my life. It is still technically on my body, but you cannot see it anymore because it's covered with another tattoo.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah.
So I take it that was your favorite cartoon.
I guess. I mean, I don't know. I liked it, but the things we think when we're 17, which is maybe why they don't let people get tattoos when they're 17. That whole year might have led to something entirely different. But yes, at the time, I loved it. It was super cute. And yeah, it's still there. And it's a cool story that I stupidly called the tattoo shop to ask if they checked IDs.
That's a good story. Okay, so one last question about tattoos is, I know you've gone to Vegas to get tattoos. Are there any other places you've gone to get tattoos? I know Claudia travels to Vegas to get tattoos. So
Yes.
do you travel other places to get tattoos, or have you gotten a tattoo in an interesting place before?
Yes. So I will say at this point, Vegas is the only place that I travel specifically to get a tattoo.
What's the first name of your tattoo guy?
Joey.
Joey. That's impressive. You must mean a lot to Claudia.
I mean, it's good
You
work.
must do good tattoos.
He does good tattoos. So I don't want to let this go, though, without also giving a shout out to Walter, who used to be in Vegas.
I've heard about Walter.
See?
I don't even do tattoos, and I've heard about Walter.
And she knows.
Hey, Walter. That's
Walter,
a good name.
Isn't it? Yes. So Walter is now in Salt Lake City. So I will be traveling there for tattoos. But I have been traveling and gotten tattoos in Kentucky. Don't judge me. In
I like Kentucky.
Philadelphia
Okay.
and in Arizona.
All right.
Yeah.
Enough for the tattoo talk.
Okay.
With the tattoo talk. What else do I need to ask you?
Gosh,
Anything
I don't
else
know.
you want to talk about before we wrap up?
I feel like you put me on the hot seat. We also had some laughs, and now everybody knows my nerdy tattoo story.
So feel free after this episode to keep submitting more questions to Claudia that she'll collect. And then if we have enough, maybe Claudia will invite me back to host again if y'all like me.
I would love that.
I've never said y'all this many times.
I noticed. I still say guys, like you guys. I don't say y'all.
You're
which,
technically kind of from the South.
no, I'm from the South, and
I'm not.
on another episode, we actually talked about why I do not say y'all.
I did not do my research, everyone.
So,
I'm sorry.
yes, I do not say that. In fact, I just now said it a few times. It's the first time I've said it since that podcast episode where I said it. But yes, I will collect your questions just the way I collect tattoos.
She's making a weird face for the listeners.
And we will do this again, which I think would be amazing.
Great.
I would like to ask you a question before we close out and say goodbye. How was your first hosting experience on a podcast?
It was great. You're easy to talk to.
Oh,
My only complaint is the bright light. So this is not my natural look.
she looks amazing all the time. Don't let her fool you.
But the light does help. I actually have cheekbones. So that would be a highlight for me, is that I have cheekbones. But the only negative would be like, whoa, I have not looked this way very much. Those are some bright lights.
She always looks this way. It is a bright light. I do agree. But
other than that, like, this was great. I'll come
Perfect.
back if you want me.
I thought you were going to complain like that we didn't have a craft table or like the
I hate
snacks
crafts.
weren't. No,
Crafts?
that's not what it means.
Oh.
A food table.
That's the same
Yeah.
word.
Yes.
That's what that means. Yeah, no, she does have a food table. Claudia has a whole box from one of the listeners from Australia. Food, Aussie junk food that she's been having me taste.
Do you want to tell everybody what you learned today?
I learned about how to do a tater tot. It's where it's where
I'm
you
trying to get it together.
where you take a bite of this like chocolate, this chocolate cracker, and then you sip your coffee out of, and then it melts and it gets all chocolatey and gooey, and it's called a tater tot.
That is not. It's not what it's called.
What is it called then? It's with a T.
It was a Tim Tam Slam.
Also known as a tater tot. So I learned how to do a Tim Tam Slam. What else?
Or a tater tot.
So thank you to Harley who sent them, because I also got to try some.
Thank you.
I don't know.
Thank you for giving me that laugh. Oh my God.
So I don't know.
Ooh.
I've been eating Aussie snacks. It's a little out of my comfort zone in terms of having tater tots for breakfast, but I rolled with it.
She did. You did.
We should probably end this now.
I think we should, because I am dying right now. I'm going to laugh for at least another 15 minutes. So for those of you who don't know, Tim Tam Slam, do it. Also now known as the tater tot slide, tater tot slide. So please.
I didn't use the word slide. You added that.
I did. This is a collaboration here.
Okay.
So the tater tot, Tim Tam Slam, make it happen. I promise you will not regret it at all. Christina.
Good night from Breckenridge.
Thank you so much for being here today and for giving me the hard questions. And thank you guys for giving her the hard questions to give to me. It has been an honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been an honor for me as well. Peace and love.
I really hope you guys enjoyed my conversation with Christina as much as I did. Thank you so much for sending in your questions. I hope we got them all answered. And just like Christina said, don't forget to keep sending those in, and we will do this again very soon. So remember, until next week, you are strong enough and you are worth it. Thank you for listening to the Strong Enough podcast. You can find us on your favorite podcast platform by searching Strong Enough. And on YouTube, we're available on the Spear Talk channel. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Strong Enough Pod. If you have suggestions for an upcoming episode or a future guest, please reach out at strongenoughpod@gmail.com. Remember, you are worth it.